I struggled with a lot of anger, a lot of sadness. I had no excuse, which made me be even more angry. I came to church when I was 10. So I had a happy family, if you would say. I didn't have really much problems like other people did because my parents were already in the faith. Me going to church, I realized that it wasn't just going. I was always sad. I was depressed. I had a lot of issues with my self-esteem. I felt like I wasn't enough all the time. Had a lot of anger towards my siblings. I always felt like they were better than me and they were favorite. As I got older, I started not paying attention as much in church. I started desiring things outside. I never left church completely, but mentally and spiritually I wasn't there anymore. I stopped going to school. I left my career halfway. It was very embarrassing when it comes to that because I always felt in my life that going to school, having a career was gonna make myself a happy life. A lot of things happened. I was just too sad. I was depressed. I cried every night. I felt like life wasn't happy anymore. I would try so hard in school. I was good at school. I was in Dean's List when I was in college. I had full grants to go to college. I didn't have to pay anything out of pocket. I was the first person in my family to go to college. So it was like a big thing, but I was just depressed. It wasn't enough anymore. I wasn't happy no matter what I did. Even though school was going great for me and people from the outside would see my life and they're like, oh, she's fine. But mentally I wasn't okay. When I stopped going to school, I did nothing with my life for maybe a year. And my parents would ask, are you okay? Because I was still coming to church, but it was when I understood. It wasn't just about coming to church, that I had to pay attention. I had to actually obey God, let him in. Because I always said, okay, I'm fine. I go to church, I'm fine. But it wasn't like that. I remember specifically one pastor spoke to me, why wasn't I doing more in church? And I said, oh, I don't know. I used to help with the kids. And he asked, why aren't you doing more? Why aren't you an usher yet if you've been in church for a long time? And I was like, I don't know. And then that's when he asked me, do you have the Holy Spirit? And I think that was a wake-up call for me. Because I told him, I was like, no. He said, why? And that's when I think I opened my eyes and it made me realize, you know what? I've been going to church just to warm up a seat. I have not practiced faith. I'm not listening like I'm supposed to and obey the word like I'm supposed to. I think it was a struggle between myself and letting go of things. One of the biggest things I had, my mom didn't have the best relationship with my brother because my brother, the oldest, he always had some sort of resentment towards her. And I think one of the biggest battles to let go was the hate that I had towards him. I always saw how he treated her, and regardless, my mom always loved him. It was her son. One of the biggest things was to get rid of was that hate. I hated him so much. And there were times that I wondered, in my head, maybe if he wouldn't exist, life would be better. So I think letting go of that, I remember through that fasting, I did have to look at between myself, what am I doing? What is wrong with me? Why am I like this? And I went up to him and I said, sorry. And he wanted to know, sorry for what? If he's much older than me. So once I was younger, he was already gone from the house because there's a big age difference between us. But I apologized and he wanted to know for what? And I said, for hating you for so many years. And he didn't know that. And then that was one of the biggest steps for me, letting go of that, letting go of friends. I had a lot of friends from what we call the world, that we're into parties, we're into nothing church related. They wouldn't criticize me for going to church. I spoke to all of them and I let them know, listen, I want to follow faith. I'm not going to be about this life anymore. And I lost all my friends because of that. I left a potential relationship too. I was talking to a guy during that time as well, and I let him know that I wanted to live by faith now. And I left that too. It was I didn't have any friends, and to other people, I looked lonely, but I was happy. I was happy. Things were changing. My attitude changed. I was very grouchy all the time. I was mad at the world. I was mad for no reason. Somebody would say one thing to me, and I would say 10 things back worse. I was always mad. That changed. So that one, when I received the Holy Spirit, that one was more of a internal battle to leave everything behind. When that fasting happened, I remember specifically the day too. I read one of Bishop's books, actually, and that's how, it was one of those where it said, you want to feel something, and you're expecting to feel something when you seek. And it was, I noticed that I was maybe like expecting too much emotion. It was one of those, like, that's all I wanted. I dreamed every time I woke up, I was like, I want it. I went to bed, I want it. It was praying, seeking as much as I could. I went every day, I have to receive it today. There was no way. On the 7th day of the second fasting, that's when I received it. After receiving the Holy Spirit, that's when everything changed. Hate was gone. I was happy. I was no longer depressed all the time. Everything in life just seemed beautiful, to be honest. Even when things were hard, it was one of those, like, it's hard now, but God promised a better tomorrow. And everything changes. Just inner peace is the best part. Today, life is different. I talk to my brother like 4 or 5 times a day now. We're closer now. I talk to my family. I don't have any issues with my siblings. I don't have any hate. I'm happy. Financially, I'm more stable. Obviously, you know, it's just one step. God has bigger plans. I'm happy overall. Life change. Peace is the biggest thing that I have. Having peace, everything else, it just adds on, to be honest.